Carrying on with the preserving and canning series that I seem to be doing this summer, I'm going to make some wild blueberry jam. Wild blueberries that I purchased from a blueberry farm here in New Brunswick, McKay's on Penfield Ridge. And anybody who lives in this area would know that much better as the Pie Lady. The large blueberry farm, I'm not sure how many hundreds of acres of blueberries that they have, but they're a large commercial operation growing these small wild blueberries. I presume the lady's name must be McKay, Mrs. McKay maybe, who started the little roadside stand a number of years ago. And she makes pies. Well, now she has a lot of people working for her making pies. She is famous for her pies. Blueberry pies, of course, this time of year, but also other kinds of pies. My favorite one is one that she makes in the fall called apple and cranberry. They also have a cranberry farm somewhere and grow their own apples as well. She makes apple and cranberry. When I was there, I bought a 10-pound box, and these have been frozen. I've just thawed them up, but when I was there to buy the 10-pound box, there was a long lineup to wait to get up to the cash. People buying pies and berries, and she also was making blueberry muffins. It's quite a growing concern. Anyway, blueberries have very little, if any, natural pectin in them, and pectin is what causes a jam or a jelly to gel. So I'm going to be adding a commercial brand pectin. The one that I use is called Certo. There are others out there, I'm sure, that work just as well. And the recipe that I'm using is from the website for Certo, which is Certo is made by Kraft Foods of Canada. And I'll put a link down below. But the first thing that you have to do is to mash the blueberries. I won't force you to watch me do all of this mashing, because it'll take a few minutes, I'm sure. These have just thawed. The blueberries have to be thoroughly mashed before you carry on with the rest of the process. So I'll bring you back when the mashing is done. The blueberries have been mashed to my satisfaction anyway. There's still a few whole ones there. What I didn't say, I guess, is that this was 7 cups of blueberries, and when you mash 7 cups of blueberries, you get roughly 4 cups of mashed berries. And if you're going to follow the instructions accurately, it says to now measure out 4 cups to make sure you have exactly 4 cups. Well, I don't know. Several times in the past I've measured and I always got 4 cups, or just a tiny bit under or over, and I went with it anyway, so I don't bother to measure anymore, but maybe you should if you are worried about yours not coming out. Certo comes in both crystal form and liquid form, and I'm using the crystal form this time. It doesn't make any difference. They have a recipe for each, but you should be careful there because the recipes are different. Find a knife or something to get the Certo envelope open. The method for doing them is different if you use liquid as to crystals. So if you've got liquid Certo, you should follow the instructions for liquid Certo. At this point, get rid of my potato masher. You add the crystal Certo. And 2 tablespoons of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Now this gets combined, and turn the heat on. And stir continuously until it comes to a rolling boil, because there isn't a great deal of liquid there, so you stir continuously so that it doesn't stick to the bottom or burn. I'll bring you back when we have this at a full rolling boil. Well, this has just come up to the boil, and now you add 5 cups of sugar. And you stir well, I guess occasionally now. You wouldn't have to stir it constantly, but you just still don't want it to burn on the bottom. You stir until it comes back to a full rolling boil, and then you let it boil for 1 minute. I don't think I mentioned the yield on this is supposed to be 3.5 pints. So they recommend using 250 milliliter 1 cup canning jars. I don't have any and don't want any. So I have sterilized 4 pint or 500 milliliter jars, and the one that's only going to be about half full when I finish, I will let it seal. You don't have to can these, they just seal from their own heat in the jar. There's no hot water bath involved. Once it seals, I'll just put that half one in the refrigerator, and that's the one that I'll use first. And I will bring you back when I get this to a full rolling boil. It came to its full rolling boil a bit ago, and I've got the timer going for 1 minute. Nothing has stuck to the bottom, and you've seen some of my jam making videos before. This is my favorite pot for making jam in. It's actually a pressure cooker, but it has a very nice heavy bottom, so usually nothing burns or sticks. That's the 1 minute. Now you turn the heat off and you stir continuously. I have to set the timer again. You stir continuously for 5 minutes by the clock. That will get rid of some of this foam that you see on the top, and it says that you could, should probably skim off the foam that's remaining. I find after I've stirred for 5 minutes, there isn't any foam. It's all been stirred back into the jam. This also cools it a bit so that any of the whole berries that are in there will be more in suspension rather than all floating to the top. So I have got 5 minutes of stirring to do. The foam business, if there is a little bit of foam left, I never let that bother me. I'm not selling it, or I'm not really giving it away either. It's for my own use, and a little foam on top of the jar doesn't make a bit of difference as far as I'm concerned. So bring you back when it's time to put this in the jars. Well, I finished my 5 minutes of stirring, and as I suspected, there isn't any foam left to skim off anyway. I guess they just say that for a precautionary thing, but I don't ever have any. And now you ladle it into warm or hot jars. Mine just came out of the oven, which is where I do my sterilizing, so I had to use tongs to handle them. They're that hot. But you fill it within a 1/4 inch space of the top. I guess that's roughly a 1/4 inch. Oh, knock you around here. You just keep doing this until you have your jars full. And that jar is very hot. I will tighten it a little bit more using a towel or something once I finish. Very hot things here. I'll bring you back once I've got everything in the bottles. As it turns out, I didn't have to be concerned about the 4th jar. I got 3 pints. I don't know. Maybe I should have measured those mashed up blueberries and added more, but whatever. I got 3 pints, and what's left in the pot seems to be setting up and gelling very nice, so I'll be happy with 3 pints. Well, if you're interested in making wild blueberry jam, I hope this was of some help to you, and thank you very much for watching.